Great, so we're going to go ahead and get started. To give you guys an idea of what's going to happen tonight, I'm going to quickly go over StartX, going to do a quick presentation on our history and who we are. And we have an awesome group of alumni founders who have gone through our program. And we're going to do a little fireside chat per se, a little Q&A, so you guys can definitely ask them all the questions you want. And then we'll leave a good chunk in the end for you guys to interact with the staff. All staff in the room, can you just raise your hand really quickly? So any one of us, most of us wearing StartX shirts, Dion, Suzanne, raise your hand so people can see your staff. So talk to us if you have questions. Founders in the room, you'll see them on the panel, so we'll bring them up in a sec. All right, without further ado, let's get this kicked off. My name is Derek. I help run the Accelerator program, the actual product that StartX provides to entrepreneurs. We have, let's see, this should work. Perfect. So what we are essentially Stanford's community of top founders. We have a mentor network of over 200 serial entrepreneurs, industry experts that will dedicate their time to working with you. We're a nonprofit. We don't take any equity in our companies. The program's completely free. So we are an educational nonprofit. Our mission as a nonprofit is to accelerate the development of Stanford's top entrepreneurs through experiential education and collective intelligence. So what that means is we teach you the skills to learn what you need to know to go and do it by yourself. So learning through example by doing it. And collective intelligence is just drawing upon the deep network expertise of mentors, alumni founders, professors to help you guys get identify what you need to learn and learn it faster. So we're a really organized network that will help you learn very quickly what you need to know. So we launched 09, 010. And our founder, Cameron, what he did was he went out and interviewed over 200 successful and unsuccessful Stanford alumni entrepreneurs. And he realized that the people that were successful, not once, but many times over, surrounded themselves with this learning ecosystem, which is what our product, our Accelerator, is built upon. So I'm going to go into that right now. So our four kind of product tenets or features are community, mentorship, education, and resources. So community is by far the most important one. These are fellow entrepreneurs who are by your side building companies that you'll learn from them, you're going to motivate each other, you're going to support each other. And some kind of cultural values of our community are all about trust, respect, and confidentiality. So this is a very open environment where people can talk about their challenges, ask for help, make introductions for people, provide strategic advice. That's the community component. The next piece is mentorship, which I touched on briefly a little earlier. So we have two types of mentors. One is a serial entrepreneur who's almost a personal coach to you to help you develop as an entrepreneur. The second type of mentorship is a board of advisors, which is drawn upon industry experts to essentially act as your board. You'll meet them 3 to 4 times throughout the session. You'll prepare an agenda, present your problem and propose solution, collect feedback. So let's say you're a health IT company. Hopefully you get someone from the insurance or someone from the hospital, maybe a doctor. So it's strategic advice to help you grow your company. The next piece is education. This is one of my favorite pieces because it's real-time and customized. So what that means is when you come into our session, we're going to sit down with you every few weeks, check in with you, learn what your learning goals are, what milestones you want to accomplish, any needs that we can help you with, whether it's requests to resources, introductions to people. That's how we do this real-time and customized education. It's no one-size-fits-all. A StartX journey is very dynamic, it's individual to that company, and we realize that, so we're going to help you learn what you need to learn right now. The last piece is resources. So this is kind of infrastructural resources to anything to really decrease the cost of entrepreneurship. So legal and financial credits at accounting or law firms, cloud computing credits, Rackspace, Amazon Web credits, Stripe credits. And then also, last thing on resources is we have this Stanford StartX fund, which you may have heard of, but I'll go into a little later, where we're able to actually provide fundraising help and direct support through this fund vehicle that we set up with Stanford. So this is our product, this is our Accelerator program. So as far as some stats, we've been around since 09-10. I believe this is our 13th session. This does not include our current companies in our fall session. We actually have our VIP night and demo day next week that concludes the fall session. But so far we've supported over 500 founders, 228 companies. I believe we had one acquisition today, so it might be 20 or 21. I think a company called Pixel Apps got acquired by Dropbox. And our companies have raised over 516 million and an average of 2.6 million funding per company. And that's within, said 3-4 years of running our program. So we're lucky to have had a really great product and be able to select really high potential founders. You have a question?
Can we ask questions throughout?
You can ask questions throughout, but we have the Q&A and the panel later. So unless you...
Quick question.
The
money raised, was that while the companies were here or after?
That's through afterwards. Go ahead. Oh, so his question was this just the companies during the program or afterwards? So these are all of our alumni companies. So they've gone through our 3-month program. Cool. So moving on, touched on this briefly, going to go into a little bit more, is the Stanford StartX Fund. It's an investment fund that we created a partnership with Stanford University and Stanford Hospital and Clinics, which is now Stanford Healthcare and StartX. So it's a very founder-friendly fund. The criteria for investment are extremely objective. So it was very created intentionally to help our companies fundraise. It was started in fall of last year, so it's been around for a little over a year. And we've made over 104 investments in 85 companies because we are following on. And over 30 million invested and an average investment size of 2.9 million. So I'm going to go through some companies that have gotten access to our fund. And then I'm going to put 2 of my team members on the spot because they help run point on the fund. So if you have any questions about the StartX fund, Suzanne and Sid, if you guys want to raise your hands in the back. So if you guys have any questions about the fund, feel free to ask them. They're doing an awesome job making sure all of our companies can access this great resource. So I don't know if you guys have heard, but we're industry agnostic, so we help companies across all industries. We invest in them too, enterprise, med, consumer, you name it. Here's some of our recent investments. Cool, going on. Next, we are a nonprofit, so how are we supported? So these are some of the great companies that we have access to, and they're really excited about what our companies are doing, so they want to get in front of you, learn about what you guys are working on, and of course, strategic long-term business development opportunities for them too. Stanford, of course, Steelcase designed and furnished this entire office for us. All the furniture that you see, the idea paint, some of that stuff is furnished by them. And then some of our notable VC partners, DFJ, Greylock, Sequoia, they all come in and do office hours with their companies. They host educational events on go-to-market strategies, on growth stage fundraising, all that good stuff. And many more resource partners, like I mentioned earlier, Amazon Web Services. So this is the office. Founders that get into our program will have drop-in space in the office upstairs. This is just a preview of what it looks like. It's really colorful. It's one of the most beautiful office spaces I've been in. And I get to work here, it's pretty cool. So going on. So we also have a biotech lab right behind this wall. It's another way that we're able to support our biotech companies, our med device companies, get bench space right behind here. You can apply to get that space and you pay some fee to get a wet lab space, and it's very competitive rates for this area. So it's basically another way we can support our founders. So, application process. Before I get into this, let me just get a show of hands. How many of you guys are interested in applying as a founder to go through the Accelerator program? Raise them nice and high. Nice. Cool. So this is really relevant for you guys. Any people that are just interested in potentially working alongside the staff, maybe as a volunteer, an intern? Perfect. Who's just here to hang out? Any one of those? Anyone? Okay, cool. Yeah, of course. Our alumni are here just to hang out with you guys. Great. So the application process, as you can see, just with all the bullet points, is pretty intricate and comprehensive. So first and foremost is the online application, which is due next Sunday night at midnight. That's correct, right? Yeah. Cool. There's two parts to it. So there's a company application part and a founder application part. So something I want to emphasize is that, since we're a nonprofit, we can look at the people as much as we do the idea. So that's why we want to learn about kind of who you are as people, as well as the viability of your company. So that's the online application. First round interview, we have trusted judges or angels or VCs in our network that come in and help vet your idea in a roughly 8 to 10 minute first round interview. Get a sense of why you're doing this, learn more about your team, if you guys can execute on your vision and the idea itself. That's the first round interview. The second round interview, there's two parts. The first one is the technical. So, what does your product roadmap look like? What technical skills do you have? How proficient are you? How quickly can you build? Do you understand the challenges, and have you thought about how you're going to tackle them? That's the technical portion. On the cultural one, just like the founder company, the founder application, like I mentioned, is we look at the people. Are you resourceful? Are you going to be an engaged community member? Are you receptive to feedback? Are you coachable? These are all characteristics that we're looking in for the people that we let into our program. And then we have about a week of reference checks. So the recommenders or the reference checks you put on your application, those are the people that we'll be likely reaching out to. And these are people that will most likely know you or your company very intimately, so they can speak to that for the reference checks. Any questions on the application process? Go ahead.
Does the company need to be in a certain stage? Like, do they need to be incorporated?
Yes, so we've taken companies that have not incorporated, so we can actually help them do that. And then we've also taken companies that are later stage. They're going to raise a Series A or so. We will definitely touch on that more in the panel with our founders. Any questions on this application process? One back there. Great. So Angela will definitely help address that question when the founders come up. Great. Any other ones before I move on? Cool. Moving on. What we look for, a high potential founder has vision, is committed, has a strong team around her and him, has great potential, and has thought through the idea of their company, and will be engaged in our community. So all of this is on our apply page on our website. I'm just going to run through it so you guys can always go back and look at it. So how to prepare. You want to prepare yourself and your team, not a particular presentation. Have a clear vision, understand your problem, and who the customers are, whose pain point you're solving. Everything about your product, how it interacts with its customers. Definitely would like to gather feedback on your product or the idea of your product. And understand what your competitive landscape looks like, who are your competitors, what are the market, what are the trends right now. And then lastly, just be open and honest about your problems you're facing. And if there's a question that the judge asks you and you don't know, just say, hey, I don't know, but hey, it's a great question. I think I would tackle it these ways. So be honest. All right, so these are some dates for our spring application. They're online, so you can find all of that as well. Like I said, applications are due. We have an applicant mixer, which is basically a week from now. All the applicants will convene here. It's more of a networking event mixer. You're going to meet tons more alumni and definitely learn more about the organization and the actual value we provide. First round interviews are sent around this date, and then we have a week of first round interviews. And then that next week, that Monday and Tuesday, we have second round interviews. And we try and get our decisions a week or two after that. So the entire application process, from the online application to making decisions, is about a 2-month process. Cool. So those are the details on our Accelerator program. Oh, there's a lot of questions. Do you want to go back? Is that it? Angela, do you want to do the questions now, or do you want to go online?
We can take some questions
Cool,
if
go
they're
ahead.
specific to the application.
Are there application periods some other times of the year?
Yes. Are there application periods other times of the year? We run our Accelerator program 3 times a year. So the next one you're going to be able to apply is in summer, which is June, May.
Applications open early March, and they'll be due at the end of March, and then the session begins mid-June. Yeah, and then the next one after that is the fall session. So applications for those open in September, and then the fall session begins early November.
Cool.
Yeah. So 3
Questions
sessions
before
a
you
year.
move on, bring on our awesome alumni? I'll take one more.
Can you give some stats from previous sessions, like how many applications and distribution of the
Stats, sure. So out of 100% of the applications, we take around 50% for first round interviews. After we take about 50% for first round interviews to second round interviews, that's about 25%, or half of that. And then we ultimately, there's around a 10 to 13% acceptance rate. Cool. So I'm going sorry. Roughly, applications, this past summer and fall, we got around 300. Cool, so I'm going to bring up Angela, who works on our operations team here, and she's going to bring up our alumni. Cool, thanks guys.
Cool. Hi everyone, again I'm Angela. I work on operations, and if you apply to StartX, you'll probably see me around during the interviews. So yeah, tonight's highlight is a panel of our founders. So again, the StartX community is the greatest value, and we have a community of over 500 founders. Tonight we'll have 5 of them joining us to have them share their experiences in StartX. So have them come up. Alright, so first we'll just start off with quick introductions. So founders, we could start with just name, background, and one-liners about your company. Selena, do you want to start?
Sure.
You can pass the mic.
Hi, I'm Selena. I'm in the current batch, so I work upstairs. My company is Playbook HR. We're Workday for independent contractors. We have HR software for anyone that hires contractors.
Hey guys, I'm Andre. I'm also in the current session. I'm a double PhD from Stanford, and my company is Yellow Industries. We're a super B2B industrial company. We build pilot line production tools for various semiconductor and solar companies.
I'm Jenica Alvarez, so I'm actually in the current batch as well. I'm a part of StartX Med. I just started in November of last year, so really excited to be here. My company and I help in developing technology to improve connected health for growing families.
Hi everyone, I'm AJ Balance. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Dispatcher. We are sort of like Uber for long-haul truck drivers. I was part of the summer session, but still work out of the space, so I'm still upstairs as well.
And I'm Dian. I was part of StartX with AJ last summer, CEO and co-founder of a company called Job Labs, which is bringing competitive gaming to mobile.
Well, awesome. So as you can see, they work across a lot of different industries, as we are industry agnostic. Also, good to keep in mind their industries in case you have questions afterwards. So yeah, we'll start off with a couple questions that you're probably wondering as well. So I'd like to start off with, what were your motivations for applying to StartX? What originally kind of inspired you to apply?
Sure. I had always heard about StartX at Stanford. Previously it was SSE Labs. I graduated in 2011, and even after graduation, heard a lot about StartX from alumni, from people who wanted to get into StartX. So I was always intrigued about the program itself, and the fact that it was a nonprofit and centered on founders was, my main motivation for applying, being a first-time founder myself. So those are a couple of reasons why I kind of came out to an info session, very much like you guys, sat in your seat and thought it would be a great program for me to kind of get started in this world of entrepreneurship and learn from everyone around me.
I also heard a lot about StartX from Stanford, but also my roommate, Kai, who's actually an alumni in residence. He's been here at StartX for 3 years. He really pushed it and just kind of glorified all the aspects of it. And he was definitely right. I really enjoyed the entire session this time around. And the main reason I came to StartX was really for the community. I feel like a lot of the time you run into problems as a startup that people have solved before, and getting efficiently through those problems kind of mean the difference between success and failure. And what you have here is a community that can help you with that.
So I actually am kind of an accidental entrepreneur. And so I was coming out of biotech industry and had this idea, and I kind of worked with my husband, who's also a friend of mine, anyways, to develop nice health. And so I think from coming from biotech and coming into the startup world, I was really intimidated, for one, and didn't really know what to expect. And then also, I think being a first-time entrepreneur, because you don't know what to expect, and that's really not the type of environment you're used to, I felt really lonely, as many CEOs do. And so I think that one of the motivating factors for me to join StartX or to apply here is just getting that community and knowing that I'm not by myself, and I know that most of the people here are going through the same things that I am or have already gone through them and can share lessons learned. So that was a huge push for me.
So I definitely echo the points on community and also kind of the organizational structure of StartX being a nonprofit and the way that they're set up feels very aligned with helping founders, which was definitely a huge point for me. The other one for me, very practically, was help with fundraising, which StartX was super helpful with, and happy to talk more about that during this or after.
Kind of a similar story. A good friend of mine, I'm GSB 09, and one of my classmates and good friends had gone through the program previously and literally called me 6 or 7 times until I basically applied. So at some point, the shut came up, I did. And I was very glad that I did because it was extremely helpful. My business reasons were somewhat similar. You know, we had previously raised our seed round and we're going to raise our Series A round, and StartX was incredibly helpful, both in terms of support, education, as well as just expanding the network of all entrepreneurs, investors, and the like. So I credit a lot of the success in terms of fundraising.
Awesome. So yeah, there's definitely, as a part of the StartX community, you get access to community, mentorship, education, and resources. So oftentimes the question is like, what value do you get out of the program across all these different resources that we provide? So you could all speak a little bit about what you found to be most valuable from being in the StartX program, and maybe specific things you enjoyed. Yeah.
Sure. Prior to StartX, my co-founder and I were working out of our apartments. So it was very lonely. We were seeing each other every day for 20 hours a day. And after joining StartX, we weren't really sure actually what to expect about the program. We've heard so many good things, but after meeting everyone and see how diverse everyone was, not only in industry but also stages, we weren't really sure what to expect. So I was surprised when we came in. We get sectored off into different verticals. For us, it was enterprise, there's consumer, hardware, and men. So in these groups, it's kind of like a therapy session for everyone once a week to check up on your progress, any problems that you've come through, and just being able to talk to the person next to me about small things to change in marketing that will have a huge uptick in your sales, or how to approach competitors in the space, or how to think about partnerships has been really valuable for us, and a part of StartX that's kind of ingrained not only in the process that you go through of learning, but very focused to your company and your specific needs. And I'm sure everyone will talk a little bit more about some other programs, but that's something that I really enjoy, and I feel like the guys in my enterprise neighborhood, we're going to be close forever beyond StartX, so it's a really good opportunity to meet new people and form really good relationships.
I'll echo that as well, and in addition to it, the network that StartX has outside of this kind of community is incredible, and it's growing every year. So you'll be able to get introductions to pretty much any investor in the Valley, tons of industry experts, mentors, and And you need to take advantage of all those, because your network is really, in the end, what helps you the most, along with your company. Who you know is, for example, from our company, one introduction that I got at Stanford got us $4 million in funding. Just one person. And if I hadn't met that person, we would still be fundraising today. So you have to leverage your network. I can't stress that enough. StartX is a great way to do that. It's a great resource, and if you take advantage of it properly, you'll do very well.
So I would actually have to say that the workshops have been really helpful to me. There are several workshops that are held on a weekly basis, I feel like, some of which I continue to mention. Yeah, but the most recent workshop that I attended was hosted by DFJ. And we talked about how to scale a business and some things that you really have to get in place and just to kind of form your foundation, right? So understanding, who are you going out to raise money from, how to vet them, because it's not only about the investors interviewing you and getting to know you, but you also have to make sure that they're the right people to take money from, which I think is a huge lesson learned for some of us. So I think beyond that, we also talked about term sheet negotiation, not only for seed round, but for me, I'm gearing up for Series A, and so really trying to understand how do you set the framework for that, because that really kind of dictates subsequent rounds. So just having the input from investors who see this all the time and really can help us think through some things to just think about and push forward in your term sheet, and then how to be nimble with your investors and work through some of those issues. I think is really helpful.
I think for me, the programs that have been the most helpful were the lead mentor program. So we got paired with a lead mentor who surprisingly had experience in the trucking industry, which we did not expect. And he also helped us every single day during our fundraising process on the phone and over email, helped us work with all that, which was really helpful on a kind of day in, day out basis. And then the StartX fund, we also took advantage of. So if anyone has questions on that, that was really great. It helped us move around along a lot faster. Get the benefit of saying Stanford invested in us, so there's great stuff there as well. And then the funnest program for me was the Thursday community check-ins where all the founders from all the companies come together. So it was definitely the funnest and a lot of great informal benefits and the community feeling that were great there.
For me, the two best parts were meeting a lifelong friend that was my alumni buddy, Kai, actually. It was quite amazing that how we connected and it's just, I feel very fortunate to have, literally I was late for the very first session to start it. And so I walk in and he thirsty and he's like, so are you looking for a buddy or whatever it was? And I'm like, I guess. So it was serendipitous. And then the other pretty amazing thing actually was, I previously built a social companies and raised money twice and had the confidence that supposedly I knew how to raise money and whatnot. And then I attended the StartX fundraising workshop that by my part, and I was like, wait a minute, I do not get this at all. So it was extremely valuable, way more than I had imagined in terms of kind of similar story in terms of setting up a framework for how to raise, in our case, Series A round. It was incredibly valuable. I am convinced that without the benefit of the workshop, I wouldn't have been able to pull it off.
Great. So hopefully that gives you a sense of what's being in the StartX program like. I know one question that came up before was kind of what stage should your company be at when you apply? So do you guys have any interest in reverse order?
So in our particular case, we had previously raised $1.3 million and we were 10 people when we applied. And we were gearing for our Series A round. Yeah, that's the stage.
We were 2 people. We had a product, sort of. We had 3 users, and we were really excited.
So let's see. We just raised, I think, $300,000 in our seed round. We had a fully functional prototype coming in to our interview, so we were able to at least convince you guys that we know a little bit about what we're doing. And so I think that was kind of our story, and then I think beyond that, actually I wasn't
For us it was a little different. So I have actually been working on this particular idea/company for almost my entire PhD at Stanford. So it's almost like I've been working on it for 6 years. And I just graduated last year, and then we took the next step to turn it into a startup. So we started up in August of last year, got accepted to StartX in October timeframe. So we were very young, just 3 of us, all from the same lab at Stanford.
And there were just 2 of us working 6 months before this, bootstrapped, product, paying companies, but has not tripled over a StartX period, so awesome for StartX.
Great. Yeah, question?
Yeah, can we ask questions?
Yeah.
I was wondering if you have a preference or recommendation whether to join StartX while still in school or after graduation.
Sorry, so the question was whether you should join StartX during school or after graduation. Any thoughts on that?
I can take that because I'm still a student. So we applied in our first year of the 2-year graduate program, and we did it over the summer, which was, it took, I think, a lot of selling that we were really serious about doing it. So I think if you're going to do it, that's important. I would say the amount of time we invested in StartX would have been really hard to do while we were in school. So if you're able to do it over your summer, it worked really well for us, and we're still working here and full-time basically here. But I would think it'd be hard while you're in school, but I don't know if anyone's done it. So
I would personally want to graduate first because graduation, especially like a master's program or a PhD, is really painful to finish it out. So all the guys that I know, or most of them, graduate first. We got social submit, right? If you come in without your degree, just kind of having left. Investors kind of look at that a little bit with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and I guess to add to that, in Andre's case, his work on his PhD was directly relevant, so in that case, I think that it especially made sense to graduate first. Question?
Prior to StartX, had you guys applied to other accelerators?
No.
No, I was actually, I went through an incubator called Springboard Enterprises. It's a nonprofit organization that supports women leaders. So that was really my only intro to incubator accelerator roles.
We applied to a number of enterprise-focused accelerators, so if you're interested about that, I'm more than happy to talk about pretty much all of them that are out there. Funny enough, we applied to StartX once, got rejected, came back again, and got accepted. So don't be discouraged if you don't.
That was us too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Andre, did you run into any intellectual property issues having done research on what you do?
Oh yes, we can talk at length about that. But yes, our primary patent is through Stanford. We have to license it because it was something we filed already at Stanford, since we used Stanford resources to develop it. It's Stanford property. And the negotiations with OTL and your advisor especially can turn out to be complicated. So if you want, we can talk offline about it.
Yeah, question?
Yeah, it seems like most of the companies you bring in are, have been working on it for a while and are more incorporated versus very early stage. Is there kind of a stage that, like, if you're not there, you're probably not going to be able to take advantage of the program, but you really kind of need to be at a certain level to get to the sub program while you're in it, when it's maybe a little bit too early?
Yeah, so to recap, the question was, is there a stage where it's too early, where you might not get kind of the full value out of the program?
So I can just share that in our batch, there was one particular company that was a single individual person without any funding when he started with a very bare bones product and a rough idea of the vision. And I think he still got run out of the program. I'm speaking on his behalf, but I think in this particular case, because I'm quite familiar, he ended up raising money, finding a co-founder, building out a product, testing the product, moving into an office, and he did that in a span of, I would say, 4 months total. So I think the right question to ask yourself is, where's the company now, and over the next, let's say, 3, 6, 9 months, whatever time frame, what do I want to accomplish? And then I think it's going to be really obvious whether StartX can help or not, because it's an amplifier, right? Like, it's an amplifier in terms of your network, the resources you can gather, your credibility, and so forth. I think if you're seriously starting a company, it's hard to argue, given its current setup as a non-profit, as a focus first and foremost on the community, that it can hurt. I think it can only help, and in some cases quite a bit, depending on the stage.
And I'd also like to say, in terms of being maybe too far along, so I don't know if any of you have heard of Life 360? Yeah? Okay, so they're in my class, actually. They've raised, $70 million? So I think that it's interesting. I was speaking with one of the co-founders, and he was really just wanting to experience Accelerator life and really kind of gain from the networking, the community, some of the workshops, just kind of learn what he didn't really get a chance to learn early on because things just went so fast for him. too late either.
Yeah, great. So yeah, just to add a little more, like if you're afraid that you're too early for applying, like when we look at companies that apply, we always consider, how can StartX help you and like what's the best time for your company. But we definitely encourage you to apply. Like Selena mentioned, it doesn't hurt to apply, not make it in the first time, and apply again. We've had companies that have made it in after applying like 2, 3, maybe even like 4 times. So yeah, it's kind of being an educational nonprofit. Through applying, we also give you feedback from the application round, so then you can continue to improve and come back and apply again. So yeah, the question is, who are the judges that kind of help make the decisions on the applications and interviews? So yeah, the judges are all kind of trusted people in our network, including like alumni, VCs, close mentors. Yeah. Question?
Yeah, is there a chance of being selected if you don't have a technical co-founder?
Yeah, so the question is, is there a chance of being accepted if you don't have a technical co-founder?
Selected, being chosen, qualified for the program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So that's one of the things we do look for, like how quickly can you execute on your idea, and in some cases, maybe kind of the technical component of your company isn't very far advanced. Or it doesn't kind of require a lot of expertise. In that case, say we have accepted companies where there isn't a technical co-founder, but they did have like technical contractors or first employees who have technical backgrounds. Yeah, question?
Do you support two companies sometimes together who could be competitors? Or in the same areas? Does that happen?
Yeah, so the question is kind of about accepting companies that would be competitors.
That could be competitors.
That could be competitors. So we definitely kind of take that into account, and because like having a very trusted community is a big part of StartX, we make sure that like that wouldn't be an issue. Question in the back.
Thank you. My question about the founders is I've heard a lot about like team dynamics change and founders come and leave, people join and leave. What has been your experience and any insights on keeping your core team well, or how you're coming together as a team and building it out?
So yeah, just to make sure everyone heard that question is on kind of building a core team and how to keep a core team together along with like team dynamics.
So you married one of them. So mine is very much clear. But actually, we were really, we had the fortune to bring us someone else as a co-founder who has really deep industry expertise. So I think how we made it work, which is interesting for her because I never asked how does it feel to work with a husband-wife duo. That'll be another question another day. But so I think that how we keep it together is just we meet regularly. We're very honest. We're very open. We're adults. We've been in the industry for several years, and so I think that we have the I don't know if I go as far as saying maturity, but we have the ability to just have these great candid conversations about anything that's bothering us. But I think just open communication and then being able to be humble enough to learn from each other, I think is another big thing for us.
I would say related to that, even if you're not actually married, treating the other person like your spouse and realizing you probably spend more time with them than your spouse. The big thing we do to try to kind of on a related note to that is we figure out kind of what each of us wants and what excites and makes us feel satisfied with the company and leave room for the other person to do that. So it sometimes means kind of dividing roles, but sometimes even just other more intangible things. So I think having that open dialogue and building that trust over time, like any other relationship.
For us, with my co-founder, there's a complete alignment in terms of vision, goals, and great compliments in terms of skill. And I think this point around vision, values, goals is fundamental. I have seen so many partnerships fail because people fundamentally don't want to do the same thing. For example, somebody wants to risk it all and the other person simply does not. They just, for example, want to continue inventing, or they want to sell, or whatever it is, but there's a fundamental mismatch. And unfortunately, it turns out it's really hard to tease that out because people lie to themselves, and therefore to other people, not on purpose, but just it's really hard to figure out what they actually want. So what really helps is working with somebody that you've known for a very long time, because then you have that open channel of communication that hopefully can get you to the answer of, do we see the eye to eye in terms of vision and values, and do we have complementary skills? So in my case, for example, I've gone through a whole bunch of co-founders in my last 10 years of building startups, and I finally found somebody that we've been working together for 7 years. But the reason why we had to go through another probably 7 or something is because we just were not seeing eye to eye. So it's a hard one. Just don't find somebody and start working with them over chatting a couple of weekends and saying, oh wow, it seems like we're really a good match. Most of the time that's really not the case.
So I totally agree with all the points that were brought up. One important thing that was left out is the way you structure the company in the beginning. Don't just give stock right away to everybody. Make sure you're vesting, because if somebody leaves after 6 months and they still own 25% of the company, that's really bad. So think through all the structuring decisions, because you're not going to know if somebody's going to work well with you until 6, 12, maybe 24 months down the line.
The only thing I would add to that is don't pick a co-founder again over a chat or a meetup or a meet and greet. Ideally, this is someone you've worked with before, a classmate, a friend, although sometimes it shines your friendship being in a startup together. Yeah, overall, just to have some history with the person and have similar, at least working styles or complement each other's work habits for really long.
Yeah, question?
Hey, I'm Greg. I'm here with my co-founders on Group Music. We make it easy for anybody to create music regardless of skill set. But my question for you guys is, how is your time divided once you're in the program? How much are you focused on your company and fundraising and that versus how much time do you spend developing product?
I think it depends on what stage you're in. So fundraising is a focus for you. Then I want to say a path that you go through StartX where you're attending fundraising workshops, you're going through mentor programs that are dedicated to fundraising. If you need to focus on product, then I know companies that have just focused on building V1 of their product throughout StartX. In terms of what's required, we have our mandatory weekly check-ins with our enterprise neighborhoods and also the broader community. But besides that, all of the other workshops and events that are put on, you really elect to do them, so they're not required. In fact, I think I heard a stat that if you attend all of the StartX events, you're probably not going to be successful at the end of StartX. So it's really whatever you want to put into it based on your needs.
Yeah, definitely StartX emphasizes that they do not want to be a distraction. You should be focusing on your company first. StartX is not going to make you successful. It's a resource that you can use, and you have to use it effectively. So I would personally focus on what you need to focus, and then just use StartX the best you can, because what people don't understand is that once you're in, you have a lifetime membership. So you can always come back at whatever stage you're at and take advantage of the resources available here. So don't forget that, and don't try to do too much with StartX, while forsaking your own progress.
Yeah, I was going to say, the only other thing is, I think most of the time you spend with StartX, there's this little saying they have, but it inadvertently also helps you. So your networking, the informal and the formal are all kind of part of building your company. So I don't know, I don't actually divide my time in my head by StartX time versus company time. It was all kind of part of that experience.
Question?
Is there any chance to get a visa for the time that you stay at StartX?
Any chance that you can get a visa?
I've dealt with a lot of integrations now, and the answer is it's irrelevant, right? So StartX is not at all related to visa or immigration in any way. This is a program that you join with your company, or if you don't have a company, get it yourselves in some passion. But it's, to the best of my knowledge, which can of course always change in the future, everything can change, but it's not relevant with respect to immigration. So if you, for example, are on F1 visa or J1 or whatever, there's no restriction. You can always join the program as long as you can be legally in the States, because this is not, you're not working for StartX, so it doesn't matter. However, there is no opportunity, based on my understanding of legal matters, to get a visa with respect to the program. I'm not a lawyer, so you should take that with a grain of salt, but I spent years in these kinds of stuff, so I'm pretty sure that's right.
Alright, great. Any last questions? Question?
Yeah. What is the difference between the mainstream at StartX and at StartX Med?
I can see that. So I did StartX Med, and correct me if I'm wrong, but so StartX Med is a 6-month program, so you're kind of over 2 sessions. And then you're also assigned to a particular community check-in. So every other week we have community neighborhood check-ins, and so my community check-in is biotech. So you're with industry experts and you can ask questions that pertain to whatever stage you are in development. And then also you're matched with mentors that are also in your expertise, right? So med device is what I was matching you with. So that's kind of my take on StartX Med.
Yeah, so for healthcare IT companies, it's still a 3-month program since the development cycle is closer to an IT company than the rest of the med companies. But yeah, for the others, it's a 6-month program instead of a 3-month.
Just like a question, what do you look for as far as Stanford affiliation? Does that play into whether you get in or how many co-founders are part of Stanford, or is that not a factor at all?
Yeah, so question is, how does Stanford affiliation factor into your kind of application? So we look for just at least one co-founder to have a Stanford affiliation. And then if no founder on the team has a Stanford affiliation, we do have the visiting founders program. So we do select teams from that. We always say we make exceptions for in exceptional cases. So yeah, those teams are, so we do accept teams that don't have any Stanford affiliation.
Just an extension of that question. That was a great question. Do you have any experience as a panel of working with non-Stanford affiliated founders who, are really excited about the community and come in and do some great work? Stories like that?
There was one company this summer that I believe was non-Stanford affiliated. They were from Berkeley, I think, and they were awesome. They were here at all the events, and it was, I don't think anyone even noticed the difference. So at least from my perspective, it was totally seamless. Besides how awesome
I'm the industry lead for part of the consumer portfolio, the current consumer batch, or I guess the most recent consumer batch. And in my cohort, there's one company that's not Stanford affiliated at all. I don't think, now that you ask me, that's when I realized that, and it seriously doesn't matter. They're great.
All right, last question. I'm going to take it from someone who hasn't asked me.
Do you guys have any co-founders who are working full-time but also doing StartX?
The question was any co-founders who are working full-time while doing StartX?
So one of our co-founders is working full-time. He's actually quit that job, and Jeff is joining my company now full-time. But yeah, I think that's really challenging. So it's something to consider. I think it's because there are so many wonderful opportunities here at StartX. We want to make sure that everybody on the team has some access and some time to devote to the program in order to get the most out of it quickly. So I would caution against having full-time and then trying to balance out with StartX.
Awesome. So yeah, there's definitely lots more opportunities to ask questions. I want to make sure there's enough time for you to get up and actually mingle around the room, ask questions to staff, to our founders. So thank you. And thank you.